Good afternoon, everyone. We will begin shortly. Maybe ask everyone to settle down. Good afternoon. Mayong hapon. Magandang hapon po sa lahat. Welcome to the first Justice Hilarion Aquino National Memorial Debate Competition. Please stand for the Philippine National Anthem. Please stand for the information.
Our Heavenly Father, the fount of all goodness and grace, the cause of wisdom, the source of intelligence, we welcome you, O Lord, to this auspicious gathering of your beloved. We continuously give you thanks for every opportunity to learn something new and become fruitful to the works of your creation. We humbly come to you, not because we are worthy, but because we find ourselves in need of you, who is our strength and our hope, to continue despite the challenges we face in health, prosperity, and our solidarity with one another. We pray that today's gathering, made possible by the grace of advancements in technology and social media, become successful in its endeavors so we can offer it back to you as our humble offering to honor you, glorify you, and love you through our deeper connection with everyone. May we find bliss in today's session and become more productive children and co-creators of the earth. This we ask and pray through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Good afternoon. Give this opening message, and we call on the commissioner in charge for the event on behalf of the Legal Education Board, Honorable Lorenzo R. Reyes, for his opening remarks.
Thank you, Aaron. You are Honorable Chief Justice Aquino, Chairman Honorable Beda Marquez. No, sorry. Every time I come across the word Beda, I always remember Miss Beda Marquez and Miss Universe. Without contradiction, without contradiction, our Beda plays more people. It's like former Chairman of the Legal Education Board and former Commissioner of the Participating Competition Commission. Dean Jenny Christine, who is the president of the Philippine Association of Law Schools. Chairman, the able chairman of the Commission on Election, and is equally brilliant commissioner in charge of IT at Pamanang, who is the brain behind this debate this afternoon. The different deans, different student government, the participating student debating teams, stakeholders, colleagues of the legal board, good afternoon. In answer to the core of the Commonwealth as the guardian of the sovereign will of the people, under the able leadership of Chairman George Garcia, and ably assisted by his commissioner in charge of the item. For stakeholders to participate in the nationwide search for solutions to make the electoral system perfect, so that the constitutional right of suffrage of the people will be protected. The Legal Division Board, as an institution in the forefront of promoting the rule of law, which is a cardinal destination building, encourage our law schools to participate in this. Inspired perhaps by the language of, or by the language of then Senator Barack Obama, who became a two-term president of the United States of America, and he said, when students participate in debates, they learn to study issues in depth and from perspectives. A skill I use every day in my life as a senator in the US. 26 law student debating teams entered the competition. What a surprise! Out of these 26, after 18 debating sessions, 8 emerged as a semi-finalist. And who are these 8? And these are the University of Batangas, West Visayas State University of Iloilo, Cor Jesus College, Optegus, Davao, far from Mindanao, about the Sur, Wesleyan University of Cabanatuan, of course, PLM, Pamanang, Luzon, Manila, then 6, Xavier University of Cagayan de Oro, 7, University of Mindanao, Davao, and 8, St. Paul School of Professional Studies, somewhere in Leyte, and who emerged as the finalists. They are here this afternoon, Xavier University and West Visayas State College of Iloilo. Sorry, Metro Manila schools, I come from, di na tayo ang magaling. Meron pala mas magaling sa labas, out of Metro Manila, as borne out by the result of the debate for the last 2 months. We'd like to thank Commonwealth under the able leadership of Chairman Garcia and Commissioner Celis for giving the trust and confidence in the Legal Education Board in hosting these debates. We also would like to thank the different deans, stakeholders who are present this afternoon. So, in the meantime, the battle of the Titans will start. Who will emerge? Xavier o Iloilo. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you, Commissioner Lawrence. And on that note, we welcome again all our schools, our stakeholders, and in fact, the rest of the nation. We are broadcasting live on the official Comelec pages, so welcome. We hope you enjoy this afternoon's debate. As mentioned, this event is a collaboration of the Comelec and the LEB. So we are honored to hear a message from the Comelec chairperson, the Honorable George Erwin M. Garcia.
Thank you very much, sir. With the kind permission of Commissioner Reyes, may you please adapt your introduction as far as the BBIPs are concerned. Magandang hapon po sa inyo lahat. You know, by March 8, 9, and 10, the Comelec will be conducting the first ever, historic first election summit. We decided to pursue and proceed with the conduct of the election summit simply because we honestly believe that it's high time for everyone to realize that the business of election is not only the business of Comelec, it is the business of everyone. And so each one of you will have a part on how the Comelec will conduct the elections in 2025 and in the future. We would like to ask for assistance, we would like to ask for help, we would like to ask for suggestions, recommendations, comments, coming from stakeholders, coming from practically everyone, from the LEB, from the FALS, professors of law, from the students of law, and practically everyone. Because we would like that the election that we are going to hold, the 2025 and the succeeding elections, will always be clean, credible, reliable, honest, and can be trusted. Simply because we realized that in 2022, when we conducted the election, we were able to have a 83% voters turnout, not bad. That's actually the highest in the history of our country's election since time immemorial, the highest, 83%. The Comelec, because of that, received 84% trust rating from our people, the third highest in all government agencies. But to us, that is not enough. It's not enough that you are able to perform well in 2022. Maybe better if we will be able to equal what we have been accomplished in 2020 or even surpass what has been accomplished in 2022. And so I told Commissioner Celis, perhaps it's high time that we really have to modernize the election, not only having these machines, but modernize in the sense that we now have to adopt the so-called, because we are now in the computer age, we have, we must be in the digital transformation stage. And so I said to him, let's conduct the election summit. We in the Comelec is hoping that we will be able to replace the old machines. By 2025, we commit that we'll be changing the machines. But however, we would like to ask your help, your assistance, and your suggestion. What kind of system are we going to adopt? Are we going to use blockchain technology, which will be the topic for this afternoon's debate? Or are we going to stick with the old system, but a different machine? One of these, this is precisely what the reason why we're going to have the summit is coming March 8, 9, and 10. And I would like to really appreciate, to express our appreciation to the LEB. Of course, to the Chief Justice, thank you very much po, most admired Chief Justice, to Justice Lagitis, maraming salamat po. Mr. Chairman, Wende, and Mr. President, Dean Festin, Ma'am Ana, maraming salamat po. Commissioner, maraming salamat. And to all the participants, maraming salamat po, because when you debate, you give ideas, you offer ideas, and everything will have to start with these ideas. Napaka-importante po yan, lalong-lalo na sa commission ng elections. And sabi ko nga, we will never be wrong, we can never be wrong if you partner with PALS, with LEB, and if you partner with the legal community. Maraming salamat din po sa Beda community for accommodating us. Maraming salamat po sa inyo. And to all the participants, you are all winners as far as the Comelec is concerned. Maraming salamat po, and we're hoping that we will have a lot of this kind of endeavors in the future. We need several debates so that the public will learn from your ideas, from your arguments. Maraming salamat po sa inyo lahat.
Thank you very much, Chair Garcia. The clarion call by the Comelec has been made, and the legal education community has responded to provide her message on behalf of the Legal Education Board. We call the chairperson of the LEB, the Honorable Anna Marie Melanie B. Trinidad.
Thank you, Attorney Aaron. Chief Justice Renato Espino, Comelec Chairperson George Edwin Garcia, and Commissioner Nelson Celis, Associate Justice Zenaida Metiles, Lab Commissioner Lorenzo Reyes, First Vice President Dean Henrito Festin, Chairperson of the LEB, prior Chairperson Emerson Akente, and of course the hardworking staff coming from both the Legal Education Board and the Commission of Elections who have made this possible. Without them, we wouldn't be here today. Good afternoon to each and every one of you. It is my pleasure to join you in the conclusion of the first Justice Hilarion L. Aquino National Memorial Debate Competition. This event has been an incredible showcase of the power of critical thinking, intellectual discourse, and collaboration. As we celebrate the finalists and their upcoming performances, let us not lose sight of the true purpose of this competition, to turn ideas into action. This debate is not just an exercise by luminaries in an arena of discourse. The issues our participants are tackling are not mere baseless conjurations. They are a foresight into our future, in recognition of the fact that every new technology breeds a series of debatable issues. One day, each of us will look back to see familiar arguments, one favoring the future, while another proposing to retain the status quo. By then, we would know what to expect, and we must use our knowledge and experience cultivated by exercises such as this debate to do what we must do. As we forge the path of election systems in the era of technology, we have learned that there will always be pros and cons. Therefore, we must acknowledge that there are no easy answers, and every question is complex and nuanced. This exchange of unique perspectives and expertise is important to challenge us to think critically and foster a great understanding of the issues at hand. As such, we seek to provide a platform for discourse on challenges and relevant policy developments related to election laws. These discussions guide the Commission on Elections to ensure that the present and future election processes are fair, transparent, and democratic. Similarly, the same discussions inspire the Legal Education Board to provide fresh insights on the crucial role of the law in protecting the integrity and legitimacy of democratic processes. I would like to extend my heartfelt congratulations to all schools, all of them, which have participated in these debates. And of course, hats off to the participants from Xavier University and West Visayas State University for their impressive performances as finalists in this competition. As we bring this competition to its climax, I look forward to seeing the positive impact that you will continue to make in your respective fields. On behalf of everyone here, thank you for your participation and good luck to the finalists.
Thank you very much, Chair Melanie. And thank you to the LEB and the Comelec for the partnership that has brought us the first Justice Hilarion Aquino National Memorial Debate Competition. This debate competition is in support of the National Elections Summit, as mentioned by Chair Garcia. The first ever National Election Summit was conceived as an effort to convene the Commission on Elections and key election stakeholders to discuss various election issues and proposed reforms. This event, which will be held on March 8 to 10 next week, is the Commission's way of increasing the citizens' participation in improving the electoral processes of the country through review and enhancement of policies, plans, and programs in election administration and electoral enforcement and adjudication. In this regard, several institutions and civil society organizations have signed up with COMELEC and were present in pre-summit focus group discussions, namely the Legal Education Board, the Philippine Association of FinTech Lawyers, the Institute of Electronics and Communication Engineers of the Philippines, to name a few. And we are also keen to have COMELEC Commissioner Nelson Celis here, who is the designated head of the organizing committee of the summit. Actually, prior to the actual conference, around 24 pre-summit activities have already been conducted since October last year, one of which is the first Justice Hilarion Aquino National Memorial Debate Competition, which we are hosting now. Now, the debate competition would not have been possible without the hardworking staff of the LEB and COMELEC, so the Secretariat is led by the competition committee, which I have now the honor to introduce. First, we have the chairperson of the competition committee, Chief Rodrigo C. Sagum, who has been with the LEB since 2011 and rose through the ranks and now serves as Chief Education Program Specialist. As Chief and Public Servant at heart, he has been the proponent of various development activities of the LEB through the years. He dutifully served for various divisions and roles such as the agency's board secretary, administrative division chief, head of the regulatory unit, and currently as the head of the programs and planning office. With a degree of business administration majoring in business management and Juris Doctor from the Lyceum of the Philippines, a master's of legal studies from the Beda Graduate School of Law. He's also a government certified real estate appraiser and broker. Now, the second member of the competition committee is Attorney Enzo Emmanuel P. Toledo. Attorney Toledo presently serves as the Chief of Administrative Services in the Commission on Elections and as part of the legal team under the Office of Commissioner Nelson Celis. His skill as a lawyer was honed through his work as a legal officer detailed in the National Coast Watch, focusing on maritime domain awareness and security. He was also the attorney for the Career Service Executive Service Board and has led the legal team of the Council for the Welfare of Children in 2022. This expertise is being shared to college students where he teaches them courses on philosophy, ethics, and corporate laws. An active member of the society, he is involved in non-government organizations with advocacies on tobacco control, PWD rights, and road safety. He has a Juris Doctor degree from the Pamanang and Lungsod ng Manila. We also have as member Attorney Bonifacio D. Chavez Jr. Attorney Chavez is a lawyer at the Campaign Finance Office in the Commission on Elections. Prior to his current post, he served as a litigation lawyer at the Baligod Law Office, a project attorney at Integrion Managed Solutions, and a tax lawyer at SGV and Company. He was also a lecturer at the Iconic Review Center and has taught aspiring teachers and civil servants. He has his Juris Doctor degree from the San Sebastian College Recoletos, where he was a Dean's Lister. Another member is Attorney Jarrell N. Santo Domingo, who is currently serving as the head of the Legal, Legislative, and Judicial Office of the LEB. Prior to his current post, he was an associate at the law offices of Ocampo, Uy, Santos, Tayag, and Danganan. He was also a professorial instructor at Bicol University, where he taught English courses. He has a JD degree from the University of Santo Tomas Legazpi and an experienced debater himself. He has participated in several debate competitions, which garnered him accolades. He is currently teaching administrative law. And finally, we have Mark Benedict Sampaga. Mr. Sampaga currently serves as the managing staff in the Office of the Chief Operating Officer at the Legal Education Board. He graduated cum laude under the Bachelor of Arts in Economics program of Bicol University, and he has a junior doctorate degree from the University of Santo Tomas Legazpi. He is also a Data Protection Officer, Level 1. So thank you very much to our competition committee. But of course, I'm sure this afternoon we are excited really to see our top competing teams who will vie for the championship. These two teams bested 24 other teams across the country. So may I introduce our finalists and please stand to be recognized. From Cagayan de Oro City in Mindanao, we have Xavier University, Ateneo de Cagayan. Please stand to be recognized. And from Iloilo City, in the Visayas, we have West Visayas State University. Thank you. We're excited to see you compete later. But of course, there's a tough part to the competition, choosing the winner of this debate. And we are in good hands as we are joined by a very esteemed panel. I have now the honor to introduce the panel of adjudicators. Our chief adjudicator for this afternoon is Chief Justice Renato S. Puno, who served as the 22nd Chief Judge of the Supreme Court from 2006 until 2010. He led an activist for protecting our human rights and left as his legacy the writ of amparo to stop extrajudicial killings, the writ of habeas data to protect our privacy, and the writ of kalikasan to protect our environment. He previously chaired the Rojas Foundation and was a member of the Consultative Committee of the International Commission of Jurists, Center for Independence of Judges and Lawyers. Presently, he is a member of the Permanent Court of Arbitration in The Hague, Netherlands. He also chairs the Environmental Heroes Foundation. He is an awardee of the 10 Outstanding Young Men of the Philippines in the field of law and was awarded the Outstanding Alumnus by the University of the Philippines College of Law, where he graduated in 1962. Your Honor. We also have the LEB chairperson, the Honorable Anna Marie Melanie B. Trinidad, who will serve as the Vice Dean of the San Pedro College de Alabang School of Law from 2016 until her appointment as chairperson of the LEB. As a law student, Chair Melanie ranked third during her freshman year and graduated 18 in the class of 18. She was also one of the PBA's first sportscasters, even while studying law. She worked briefly for the Honorable Justice Josue N. Bedista in 2000, entering and leaving with the rank of Court Attorney 4. Aside from private practice as a partner at Parulan, Songkuya, and Trinidad Law Office, she immersed herself in the academe, teaching criminal law subjects at Beda College of Alabang School of Law. She then obtained her Bachelor of Laws in San Beda University and graduated as well with Masters of Laws from the same institution. Everyone, please welcome the Honorable Anna Melanie Trinidad. We are also honored to be joined by Associate Justice, with the Court of Appeal Associate Justice, Justice Zenaida Galapate Lagiles. Justice Lagiles finished law in 1987 at the University of Santo Tomas, where she teaches remedial law review, civil, and criminal procedure. She is presently the chairperson of the 14th Division of the Court of Appeals, where she also co-chairs the Committee on Legal Research and Continuing Legal Education and the Rules Committee. She was the past chairperson of the Gender and Development Committee in the same office, and presently she is the vice chair of the Remedial Law Department of the Philippine Judicial Academy, which is the educating and training arm of the Supreme Court for judges. She traversed the judicial track starting with her appointment in 1998 as a Metropolitan Trial Court Judge of Pasay City and appointed later on as an RTC Judge of Makati in 2003. Before that, she was an Assistant City Prosecutor for the City of Manila, detailed by the Department of Justice to the Office of the Chairman of the Commissions on Elections to assist in the prosecution of election offenses. Before her elevation to the Court of Appeals in March 2011, Justice Lagiles was a remedial law reviewer for several years in various schools in Metro Manila. Your Honor. And we're also joined by the former LEB chairperson, Honorable Emerson B. Akende. Dean Emerson B. Akende of the Aquinas University of Legazpi College of Law, which is now the University of Santo Tomas Legazpi, was the second chairperson to lead the Legal Education Board, serving as such from 2016 to 2020. Under his leadership, innovations to the legal education in the country were introduced, including the enhancements of the law curriculum and standards, as well as the nomenclature change of the basic law course from Bachelor of Laws to Juris Doctor. After his stint at the Legal Education Board, he was appointed as Commissioner of the Philippine Competition Commission, where he advocated for its strengthening as a tribunal of rigor. He finished his law degree from the University of the Philippines. Chair. And finally, we have Dean Gemelito L. Castillo, who is the head of the Polytechnic University of the Philippines College of Law since 2013, where he led the school to stellar performance in the most recent bar examinations. He has also lent his expertise in legal education by serving as the current president of the Philippine Association of Law Schools. In his endeavor as a legal scholar, he has presented and published numerous research in the fields of criminal law and technology. He is also a recipient of the Chief Justice Panganiban Professorial Chair on Liberty and Prosperity. With a Master's of Law from the San Sebastian College of Coletos, where he was conferred Benimeritus, which is an honor equivalent to Magna Cum Laude. He has also earned a Bachelor of Laws degrees from San Sebastian College of Coletos. Sir? All right, now we know our esteemed panel of judges. So before we dive in, may I assist everyone by reviewing the rules of the competition as we prepare for the debate proper. First, the debate that we will have this afternoon uses a modified Oxford Oregon style. And this debate consisted of, well, this competition actually consisted of 4 rounds. We already had the preliminary rounds, quarterfinals, and semifinals, and now we're down to the finals, composed of our top 2 teams. Today, each team will be scored according to the following criteria. They will be valued. They will be weighed based on their constructive speech or matter for 40 points, persuasive skills or manner for 30 points, and interpolation skills for 30 points, for a total of 100 points. As this is a competitive debate, point deduction for violation of the time limit will be imposed. 1 point if you exceed less than 1 minute, 3 points if you exceed a minute, and 5 points deduction if you exceed 2 minutes. A timer will be flashed on the screen to guide our debaters, and a bell will ring to indicate the end of the allotted time. Now for the speaking parts. First, the speakers, the 2 sides, will argue the necessity speech. The first affirmative will be given 4 minutes for their constructive speech, followed by interpolation by the first negative speaker. And then the first negative speaker will provide their speech, which will be followed by a 2-minute interpolation by the first affirmative speaker. Next will be the second speakers who will weigh the beneficiality of the proposal. Similarly, the second affirmative will be provided 4 minutes to give their speech, followed by interpolation of the opposing speaker. Then it's the turn of the second negative speaker to provide a constructive speech for 4 minutes, and followed by an interpolation as well for 2 minutes. Down to the last set of debaters, the third speakers will finally navigate through the practicability of the issue. The third affirmative speaker will be given 4 minutes for their constructive speech, followed by interpolation by the third negative speaker. And then the third negative speaker will be given their chance to provide a 4-minute constructive speech, followed by a third affirmative speaker providing the interpolation. And then to conclude the debate, we will have rebuttals, first by the negative side for 3 minutes, and then finally the rebuttal speech by the affirmative side for 3 minutes. After which, our panel will retire to the deliberation room and decide the winner for this afternoon. All right, so that's it. I hope everyone is ready. And we are now at the threshold of the debate proper. But before we proceed, please allow our team to set up the stage and lecterns so that we can begin. All right. Now on to the debate. Welcome everyone to the final round of the first Justice Hilarion Aquino National Memorial Debate Competition. We are about to begin. Debaters, please be ready. For the championship round, our proposition is resolved to adopt blockchain and similar technologies for fully automated elections. To begin this debate, we call on the first affirmative speaker to give his 4-minute speech. When you're ready, sir.
Like that. All right. Your honors, colleagues, good day. The Philippines is a democratic and sovereign state. Sovereignty resides in the people, and there is no fundamental right and corollary right to free, fair, and open elections. At the core of this debate, your honors, is the balance of COMELEC's drive to innovation and the people's right to a transparent, secure, and credible election. To clarify our parameters, your honors, we respectfully propose to adopt blockchain technology as a storage facility for data during elections. We further respectfully propose that this be implemented gradually alongside test runs, evaluations, and incremental improvements. We propose, first, that it adopt blockchain technology in 2025 for local elections only, similar to what has been done in Switzerland and Estonia. And should it be done nationally, blockchain should be allocated per precinct to attain cost effectiveness. For example, precinct A may be allocated blockchain A, precinct B blockchain D, and so on. To be clear, your honors, we do not propose internet voting or accessibility of votes, but rather we propose using blockchain technology as a storage facility of digital data. However, since this is a legal debate, the affirmative side is respectfully submitting the following blockchain framework. First, your honors, as to registration. The registration process will be conducted through biometrics, as was held valid in the case of Kabataan Party List v. Common. And second, your honors, as to the voting proper. The voting proper will allow voters to go to their designated precincts and use fingerprint to access the ballot screen, from which they can vote by shading or checking the name of their desired candidate. This type of voting, honors, is already valid under Article 5, Sections 1 and 2 of our Constitution. It does not have any additional literacy or property requirements for an individual to practice their suffrage. Third, after the votes have been cast, the digital data will be stored in the blockchain. Inside the blockchain, Your Honors, the names of the voter remains anonymous. However, the voters, Comelec, and other interested parties can verify if the voters chosen candidates were truly reflected, and it is transparent because they can verify the vote if they have been accounted for and unaltered by anyone during transmission. For example, Your Honors, voter A's name can be held anonymous, but they can still verify if their vote has been accounted for or not. And lastly, Your Honors, the process of attaching data in the blockchain takes only about 1 to 2 seconds. Aggregation and processing of this data, however, is a different process and can be done separately. Once the data is attached to the blockchain, the data becomes unalterable and nigh impossible to hack. The characteristic of blockchain storage is supported by numerous published articles, including the MIT Journal for Computer Science. Now, the foundation of a democracy is a free and fair election, and Comelec has the constitutional mandate and duty to ensure that happens. And having a blockchain where the individual and other parties can verify that their votes have been accounted for and unaltered will strengthen the trust in our democracy and the electoral process. Now, Your Honors, the negative side may throw assumptions to harm or discredit our framework. However, assuming arguendo that their assumptions are true, the affirmative side respectfully submits that the blockchain framework need not be perfect, but it needs only to be better than the status quo. And thus submitted, Your Honors. Thank you very much. I yield the rest of my time.
Thank you very much, first affirmative speaker. Please stay on the podium. May we call on the first negative speaker for the interpellation.
Like this.
Wait, we'll reset the time first. When you're ready.
Good afternoon, Mr. Speaker. Did you vote in the 2022 election?
No, Madam Counsel.
No. So, but at least were you able to access the real-time data using Comelec's data transparency server, correct?
Yes.
And I'm assuming that you knew that Bongbong Marcos was declared as the president on the same day of the election, correct?
Yes, of course.
And you're also aware that years ago, the counting of electoral votes would take weeks or even months,
Yes,
correct?
of course.
Correct? But at last 2022, there was speedy transaction or transmission of results, correct?
Yes, of course.
And you are also aware that the voter turnout was at 83.83%, correct?
Yes.
And this is way higher than the recorded voter turnout in 2019, 2016, and 2013, correct?
Yes, higher.
Which means in the 2022 election, it is more successful than the others, correct?
Success may be defined
Which
by
means,
themselves.
thank you, which means that the current automated election system has reached the optimal level of efficiency,
No.
correct? No. So you're saying that are you aware that it took us more than 25 years to reach that, correct?
Perhaps, yes.
Correct. So now you're saying that we should scrap an already optimal system for the adoption of blockchain, correct?
I said it was not optimal.
So you're saying that it's not optimal in a sense that we can always improve on that matter on the election system, correct?
Yes, that is true, but it was not
Thank you.
optimal.
But because you said in your perfect system, such as the adaptation of blockchain technology, it will solve perennial problems such as fraud, correct?
Madam Counsel,
you said
not
that.
perfect. Madam
Okay,
Counsel.
okay, we can see, but assuming that it's not perfect, you said that adopting blockchain technology will solve fraud, correct? You said
No.
you said in your speech that
Better than the
impossible
status quo,
fraud,
Madam Counsel.
but you said that it is impossible to commit fraudulent acts when you adopt blockchain technology,
Impossible to hack,
correct?
yes, Madam Chair.
But this is your argument, despite the fact that several authorities, such as the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, have debunked the claims of blockchain, correct?
No.
Thank you.
Thank you, speakers. We will now have the first negative speaker provide her constructive speech. You may take your seat first. When you're ready.
Good afternoon. The proposition of the debate calls for fully automated election. As such, it would be a great disservice to this debate if happen overnight. It took us more than 25 years to reach optimal level of efficiency. It all started in 1995 when Republic Act 8046 authorized the final testing of computerized election system. Fast forward to 2022, despite the challenges posed by the pandemic, and because of the hard work of the COMELEC, the automated election system of the Philippines was optimized. We were top 3 in the whole world in terms of voter turnout. If we shift to the adoption of blockchain and similar technologies for fully automated election, we would in effect scrap all the hard work that was poured into an already optimal system. For what? For progress? But progress does not mean the utilization of the most modern technology available in the market. Progress means getting nearer to the place where we want to be. And now, with what we have, and based on the data earlier mentioned, we're closer than we have ever been. Also, fully automated election is not necessary because there are matters that you cannot automate, such as voter identification and voter assistance. As such, there is no necessity for any deviation from the status quo because we have optimized the balance between technology and human likely to be broken. That is at least according to the studies conducted by Massachusetts Institute of Technology and National Academy for Sciences. The studies show that online voting system are not vulnerable to serious failures. Attacks that are larger in scales, harder to detect, and easier to execute than attacks analogous as against paper ballot-based voting system. The affirmative bench may say that blockchain technology should be adopted because of the accessibility it offers. I say that security must have premium priority and that accessibility should take the back seat. Because inaccessible voting is rendered superficial if at the end of the day these votes are not fully secured. Third point, it is not necessary because blockchain voting system is a threat to democracy. It is a threat to democracy because it will deny the majority of the voters to fully utilize suffrage, as most of them do not even know how to use technology, and assuming that they successfully use technology, it is not guaranteed whether these votes were fully secured by such democracy by such technology. Democracy requires that people or who hold the reins of the government and the very people duly elected by its citizens. Fully automated election is dangerous. As the saying goes, technology is a useful servant but a dangerous master. Again, this shift, if ever realized, will crumble the very foundation this state and its citizens have worked so hard to establish. And if the foundations are destroyed, what can the righteous do? Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Now call on the first affirmative speaker to interpolate the first negative. When you're ready.
Madam Council, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Madam Council, please answer yes or no only. So,
No.
surely you've been listening to my debate?
Yes.
And you have heard that we are not proposing to adopt internet voting.
If you listen to the first part of my debate,
Yes.
I said that the proposition
Madam
calls for
Chair,
fully
Madam-
automated
Madam
election.
Council, yes or no only, please. But in your debate. All right, so with that. So are you aware, Madam Chair, that your propositions must directly review our framework?
Yes, because again, I
Madam
said
Chair,
that,
yes or no only, please. Thank you.
Mr.
So,
Speaker,
if
when
you
you
agree with
implement
me-
blockchain, it's
Madam
important
Council,
that
Madam Council,
internet
please, yes or no
voting
only.
also.
Madam Council, yes or no only, please. So, in your speech, your arguments were premised on research disadvantages on blockchain.
Of
Yes?
course.
Of course, thank you, Madam Chair. Are you aware that our framework was conceptualized also with the references?
Of course.
Of course, thank you, Madam Chair. If it is modified and based on expert data, is it a general concept of a blockchain, Madam Council?
It's a general concept of
Yes, thank you
blockchain,
very
but we
much.
have to
So-
understand that there are also many researchers
thank you,
that will
Madam Chair, yes or
rebut
no?
the claims that
Madam-
you said that it's impossible
Madam, yes or
for
no, only,
fraudulent
please.
actions.
So then would you agree with me that there is only a general assumption that
It's not an
Of course, that we
assumption, it's a
cannot
research done by
overturn a technical and
experts.
unique framework?
No, you cannot say that it's an assumption because these research were done by experts
All
in
right.
their respective
Thank you, Madam.
fields.
Thank you, Madam Council. Your Honor, the affirmative bench, the negative bench are not directly attacking our model, and they are therefore not responsive to our
No, I'm not attacking your model. As I said a while ago,
Madam
the
Counsel.
proposition calls for the fully automated election system. I am not
Madam
attacking the
Counsel,
proposition.
proceed to the next question. Are you aware of the authors of your references?
Of
Can you
course.
provide us
Again, I
with our
said these
ICN?
researches were done or conducted by
Madam Counsel.
Massachusetts
Madam
Institute
Counsel.
of Technology and National Academy for Sciences. Can you see that
No further questions.
these researches are not credible?
Thank you very much to our first affirmative and negative speakers. Now let's move to the beneficiality question. We call on the second affirmative speaker for their 4-minute constructive speech. We will be resetting the time.
Mic test, 1, 2, 3.
Mr. Speaker, when you're ready.
Your Honors, Councils, good afternoon. I respectfully pray, Your Honors, that you will listen to my speech, especially because as someone who has a degree in computer science, I am going to explain the nitty-gritty of blockchain technology in simple terms. However, before proceeding to my constructives, Your Honors, I would like to clarify the affirmative side's contention of this debate. Their model is based on Massachusetts Institute of Technology, but take note, Your Honor, you can verify it in Google that that study was only conducted in Georgia and in 2019. Our model is based in 2023, which is a peer-reviewed published journal and is more recent. So if in terms of evidence, Your Honor, their credibility is already obsolete. So on our side, we are better because it is more recent and based on 2023. I can assure you, you can verify that. The negative is trying to misdirect this debate by proving to you that the status quo is already perfect. But can we consider the Philippines in utopia? No, Your Honor. So if we are not in utopia, why is it the COMELEC itself recognizes that blockchain should be implemented in 2025? Two fallacies. The first one, the WVCU is only bluffing, but the second fallacy is that you don't need to adopt blockchain in internet voting. In Sierra Leone, they also use paper-based voting coupled with blockchain technology. You don't need to have internet voting just to adopt blockchain. So to proceed to my constructives, Your Honors, the last thing that I'm going to call out is that in this Oxford-Oregon debate, the power of the affirmative side is to propose a model. They must respond to our model. But what they're trying to lure you, Your Honors, is that they're also proposing their own model, which is not the rules of Oxford-Oregon. So if you allow that, Your Honors, then it's a great disrespect to the Oxford-Oregon format. So to proceed with my constructives, the affirmative side respectfully submits, Your Honor, that blockchain technology is beneficial for two reasons. One, security, but number two, prevents lag time in accounting of votes. Why is this secured, Your Honors? It is secured because in simple terms, Your Honors, a blockchain is similar to a warehouse facility where your ballots are placed inside that warehouse, and that warehouse is secured by thousands of security guards and thousands of padlocks. However, since the glasses and windows of that warehouse are transparent, the voters can still verify if their ballots are indeed accounted for and transmitted inside the blockchain or warehouse. Now, Your Honors, let us ask the question and debunk the MIT data from them. Is hacking probable? Published journals in 2023 from Lima School of Technology concluded with a resounding no. Why, Your Honors? Because to hack and alter the vote of a voter A, you need to have the access of all various passwords and of all voters in the precinct area, including the committee of the COMELEC. And you need to do that within 1 to 2 seconds. In common sense, Your Honor, you cannot do that. It's nearly impossible, and science has proven that. However, Your Honors, let's assume that it can be hacked. Let's assume that. The affirmative submits that this is not a problem because one characteristic of blockchain is that it's transparency. This means, Your Honors, that if ballot A is hacked, you can verify it in ballot B, ballot C, ballot D. So the point, Your Honor, is that in worst case that there is hacking, the damage is reversible and can be verified so that the votes reflect the true and correct statement. This is constitutional because it's just like recounting of votes during election protest. And moreover, the identity of voter remains anonymous because only serial numbers are shown. Thus, it does not violate secrecy and sanctity of ballot. Lastly, in terms of transmittal of data, currently, Your Honors, the COMELEC need to wait for the physical transmission of BCM to extract data in USB. But if you have blockchain, you have direct transmittal of data, which is efficient. I'm very proud to propose.
Thank you very much. The second affirmative speaker. We call the second negative speaker for the interpellation. You have 2 minutes whenever you're ready.
Right then. Good afternoon, Mr. Speaker.
Good afternoon.
You mentioned in your speech that you're not for internet voting, correct?
Yes, because it can be applied also in other
So,
paper.
so you're saying that you will adopt blockchain without using any internet connection?
No, you need to adapt blockchain technology, but not in a sense that it can be accessed by anyone in their houses or remote areas.
Just say yes or no.
It's qualified
No
no.
internet or with internet?
It's a qualified no, Council.
So no internet.
It's a qualified no.
Okay. So you're saying that you can access the blockchain without any internet connection. So even in the barrios, these people without internet connection, they can use blockchain?
Council, it's a qualified no because it doesn't mean internet voting. You can use internet without necessarily.
So you're saying that you will still use internet, correct?
Not as a form of internet voting.
Okay,
It's only
let me
a
proceed,
usage
Your
of
Honor.
technology.
Now, Mr. Speaker, would you say that the US and Russia are first world countries?
Is it judicial notice? It's a fact.
Okay. Now, would you say that there are more technological advances compared to the Philippines?
Yes.
Are you familiar with what happened to West Virginia and Russia when they decided to use blockchain in their elections?
Can you please elaborate on that?
Their network was their system was compromised by network security threats. Now, is it safe to assume that since this happened to first world countries like the US and Russia, it can also definitely happen to the Philippines with our archaic technological infrastructure?
Council qualified no lead credibility versus the evidence coming from.
Okay. Mr. Speaker, you mentioned, would you agree with me if I say that countries like the US and China have an interest on who our next leaders will be?
Definitely.
And are you familiar with the 2016 Russian interference in the US?
Qualified no different context, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Thank you very much to our speakers. We now have the second negative speaker for their 4-minute constructive speech. Ready.
In 2018, the state of West Virginia in the US adopted the use of blockchain in its midterm election. After a team of MIT researchers exposed its vulnerability to third-party attacks, the government of West Virginia decided to put the entire system on indefinite hold. In 2021, Russia also used blockchain in its election. The result? Reports from Russia showed that it had trouble verifying the identity of its voters. Now, these are just some of the horror stories associated with the use of blockchain in high-stakes elections. And as you can see, these are first world countries, and yet they were helpless against network threats. This is why we on the negative team argue strongly against the use of blockchain in our elections. Your Honors, ladies and gentlemen, a pleasant afternoon. First, we argue that since the affirmative team has conceded that they will use the internet and to adopt fully automated elections, the system will be susceptible to network security threats like hacking, malware, denial of service attacks, and spoofing. And while the second affirmative speaker mentions securities against hacking, all of these other threats were not mentioned in the speech. Now, it is also worth knowing that any one of these threats that I mentioned could potentially cause the breakdown of the entire system. And in that case, it will result in failure of elections. And when there is failure of elections, there is failure of democracy. We cannot afford to compromise our election system because there is no turning back from that. We cannot just say we'll do it all over again or we'll just do better next elections. Second, the affirmative team's proposal means that we will just scrap any paper trail because we're going for fully automated elections. And in case the system fails, we have no way of checking whether the votes were properly tallied because there is no more paper trail. Also, we are saying that it cannot be denied that several countries more technologically advanced than the Philippines, like the US and China, have an interest on who our next leaders will be. We are all too familiar with the 2016 Russian interference in the US elections. And certainly, the US and China have the capability to do the same to us if we go for fully automated elections. In other words, the moment we decide to bring our entire election system to fully automated, we will be like sitting ducks against these highly sophisticated state-sanctioned attackers from some of the most technologically advanced countries in the world. Now, also, worth pointing out is that blockchain is designed to be decentralized and it requires to be run by multiple actors. The way it works is that all of these actors would have to work together to make changes to the protocol. This means that it takes more time and effort to fix the system in case it is found to be exposed to threats. And the more time it takes to fix the system, the more it becomes susceptible to attacks. And with that, let me end by saying that one of the core democratic principles in elections is that the voters must have trust and confidence in the legitimacy and transparency of the process. And blockchain's complex protocols make it difficult for the public to develop this trust. We have already achieved a high level of trust with the current system. Why change it? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We call back the second affirmative speaker for the interpellation.
Your Honors, counsels, good afternoon. Please answer yes or no. Is I Love You virus a malware, counsel?
Yes.
Would you agree with me that there is a malware, it hacks the system, right?
Yes.
So would you agree with me that malware hacks the system?
Yes.
Are you aware that my speech is about hacking?
Yes.
So therefore, malware and hacking is already included in my speech. Thank you. Another counsel, you have mentioned that blockchain is harmful for voting process, right? Like in the 2018 Russian warfare and 2019 MIT study.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Are you aware of the author of your the account of voters where there's still no blockchain in US. I'm very proud to cross-examine.
But it's still, the Russians still reported that it was unsecure. They were not able to verify the identity of voters.
Thank you very much to our second speakers. And now to help us navigate through the practicability issues of the proposal, we call the third affirmative speaker for a 4-minute constructive speech.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes.
My speech will start in 3, 2, 1. Your Honors, let's clarify this debate because firstly, it seems to me that negative side is trying to misrepresent us because we will not abide by internet voting. This is something that Clarence already clarified on the first part of speech. We can use the internet without voting on the internet. Those two are completely different things. Secondly, note that the argument of the whole opposition side is the existence of hackers. My partner, Michael, already told you that hacking is never a possibility. But this is where I'll be very generous and engage with the analysis. Your Honors, we would say that hacking is a value-neutral harm because that's an argument against all existing improved technologies used for elections. That harm can exist against the use of BCM machines or even the use of internet in general. So in order for them to win in this debate, they must have been able to prove why status quo is okay and all these harms cannot be attributable to them. This is something that they have already failed to do. Onto my extensions and all other rebuttals will be integrated in my speech. Your Honors, there's a problem that we need to fix in status quo.
The first question that we have to ask is, what really happens during elections? If you're a registered voter like me, what happens every election is that you just go to the precinct, submit your vote, and wait until all precincts close, and from then they can already start counting your votes. Why is this a problem? As a voter, you can never verify on your own whether or not your vote was actually accounted for and whether or not a fair election even took place in the first place. In the case of Garciano versus House of Representatives, it was even revealed that an anomaly took place. During the legislative inquiry, it was revealed that it was easy for GMA to ask that she'll be assured 1 million votes in South UP local because it's impossible for registered voters to verify for themselves the actual turnout of elections. Secondly, in the 2022 elections, a lot of voters even found it suspicious that Lenny Robredo got 595 precincts where she got 0 votes despite the fact that there exists a diversity of voters in the Philippines. On the contrary, during the 2016 vice presidential race, even BBM found it very suspicious when he got 0 votes on 9 precincts despite the existence of INC members on the community to which the same church endorsed him in the first place. Your Honors, these are proof that anomalies exist in our system, and the very fact that they exist is a blatant disregard against the will of the people. We would argue that we can only attain an honest and transparent election when we have a blockchain technology, because every vote of an individual would immediately be verified and real-time transmission of data would take place, which means that you get to have an opportunity to verify for yourself that your vote wasn't altered in the first place. The sanctity of the ballots is something that no other than the Constitution aims to protect. That's why it's a compelling state necessity to change our current system. We agree with them when they said that there is in fact improvement in the system. But we ask the question, how much more anomalies are we willing to take in order for us to make the big move? Second level of argumentation, and this will be a direct response on the whole argument of costliness. We think, Your Honor, that when we abide by blockchain technology, it's even more practical even after the existence of election. Why is that so? If a losing candidate files for an electoral protest, it's very easy for the House of Representatives to count all of their votes because we have a storage system that can keep all of these data as compared to paper-based counting where the possibility of spoiled ballots exists. Secondly, the results are also very transparent and can be accessed anytime. This is very practical because remember, it took BBM 6 years to prove his electoral protest because it's very hard to contain all of the ballots of the 43 million Filipino voters at that time because we don't have a mass storage system to handle them in the first place. Ladies and gentlemen, we agree that we have to have a fair and transparent election. And right now, the only fair and transparent to me is the fact that Xavier University wins this debate. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. May we call on the third negative speaker for the interpellation. Dominics.
Hello, good afternoon, Madam Speaker. Yes, ma'am. I have a question and the answer yes or no. Based on your speech, you said about anomalies and suspicions. Do you mean that 2022 election is suspicious?
Yeah.
Okay. I will take that as it is. Okay. Sige. I'll proceed to the next part of my question. Under the Data Privacy Act, we have the rights to control data, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Under the
Yes or no?
blockchain
Yes.
technology.
Yes.
Qualified
Yes or
no.
no? And one of the features of blockchain is immutability of transactions. So when you enter a particular data in a blockchain technology, there's a possibility that you cannot remove it. Then there is a legal obstructions that we have under the Data Privacy Act, right?
No.
No. Okay. Anyway, I'll proceed. Are you aware that our current debt is 13 trillion?
Yeah.
Are you aware that COMELEC has no budget right now?
Relevance, Your Honor?
Yes, I'll be going to my point. And are you reading Philippine News Agency or any news?
Yes.
Even the COMELEC said that you will reduce their budget from 10 billion to 4 billion because we have no budget right now because we have problems when it comes to money. So proposing for another technology might be another cost. That's why we are proposing for status quo, right?
You have to weigh the impracticality of your side.
And yes or
compared to
no,
our
Ms.
side.
Okay.
I qualified though.
Okay. So you have conceded that you'll be using internet connectivity. And you have problems when it comes to internet connectivity in the Philippines, right?
Yes.
Yes, thank you. That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, speakers. And now for his constructive speech, call the third negative speaker. You have 4 minutes, sir.
Good afternoon, Your Honors, ladies and gentlemen. We acknowledge the policy of the state to adopt the most suitable technology on our election process. However, this can only be done on the negative side. We will present to you why such proposal is impracticable and rebuttals incorporated here. First, this is not practicable because blockchain technology is not secured. It is prone to security attacks. It's prone to hacking. It's prone to even the corruption of evidence trails. At the same time, other faults. Security is pervasive in this process because it can affect our actual and perceived electoral outcomes. Right now, we cannot give them the elbow room to test this unproven concept in the midst of status quo because, again, election results should not be compromised. Our second point, ladies and gentlemen, is that Filipinos are not digitally literate. There are a lot of studies that shows that Filipinos are not digitally literate to manipulate or to use this blockchain technology. At the same time, to understand why are you proposing that? Third point, when it comes to internet connectivity issues. So you have considered in relation to internet connectivity in the mock trials conducted by Comelec on the blockchain-enabled voting shows that we will be encountering internet connectivity issues. Even the Internet Poverty Index shows that Philippines rank 38 among 169 countries when it comes to internet poor countries, which is translated to 58 million Filipinos who cannot even afford a 1 gigabyte internet package per month, which puts us on the seventh place in the whole world, which has the highest number of internet poor. Why I am saying this? Because we are incompetent to provide internet access to support this policy. Some areas, they do not have internet access. Some they have, but they are unpredictable. That's why we disagree with the proposal of the affirmative side. On the fourth point, when it comes to financial considerations, blockchain technology requires substantial power and higher capacity storage. And then it will entail higher marginal costs. At the same time, it will lead to unintended consequences. It could lessen our reduction of manpower. At the same time, it could give questions on the integrity of our elections. Right now, we cannot disagree with the affirmative side. Fourth, ladies and gentlemen, again, the Comelec in 2023 said that we will reduce their budget from 10 billion to 4 billion because they recognize the problem of the Philippines when it comes to the money and our current budget right now. So we cannot afford to spend a particular technology which we are not sure if it would be feasible or not. Next point, when it comes to governance, we lack governance on this technology. We do not have a law when it comes to the utilization of blockchain technology. The Congress must pass first a law to study a particular technology which can affect our national security, at the same time our data privacy. Also, we need to consider the legal viability of this technology. This is a delicate question of privacy and accountability that we need to study first. Ladies and gentlemen, allowing this kind of premature proposal from the affirmative side will only lead to a negative backlash, which is unfavorable to the Filipino people. Again, new technologies should be approached with necessary caution, especially if a mistake can jeopardize our democratic process. Remember, we have a generally successful 2022 election. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. We call back the third affirmative speaker for the interpellation.
Can you hear me?
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Hi. Firstly, you said in your speech that the existence of blockchain technology is very expensive. Would you say yes to me that the existence of electoral protests and the recount of ballots are just as expensive as investing in new technologies?
Our point is,
No, just
we
say
cannot afford.
you can only say yes. or no.
Expensive is subjective. If we have money to pay for it, we have no money right
Okay,
now.
just
Yes,
say yes
Speaker.
or no.
No.
Secondly, do you agree with me that internet voting and using the internet for blockchain are two different things?
Can you repeat question?
Do you agree with me that internet voting and the use of internet for the use of blockchain technology are two different things?
Yes, but use internet.
So
right?
did you listen to the part when we said that we will not resort to internet voting, which means to say that all of your arguments with respect
Which
to
you will be using
increasing-
internet. Yes. You will be
But
using
those
internet.
two are
right?
different things,
We're
right?
just pointing out that we have a faulty and weak internet access here in the Philippines, which would affect any technology that you will propose because it's internet.
Okay, so are you aware that every voter can only vote once, right?
Yes.
So are you also aware that data privacy does not include voting data rights?
What?
Are you also aware that
Data
data privacy
privacy.
does not include voting?
Data privacy.
So therefore,
includes all
would you
data that we
agree
have.
with me when we don't need to remove when we don't need to remove one vote, right?
What?
You also therefore would you agree with me that you don't need to remove
It's
the
not
one
the
vote?
vote, it's the personal
So therefore,
information of the voters.
immutability is not a problem, Your Honor.
It's
That's
the
all.
information of the
That's all.
voters.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, speakers. We now go to the conclusion of the debate or the rebuttal from the negative side. Madam Speaker, you have 3 minutes.
The affirmative conceded that blockchain technology can be incorporated using internet, yet they refuse to call the election system as online election system. Isn't this a case of res ipsa loquitur? You vote is stored online. Clearly, Massachusetts Institute of Technology and National Academy for Sciences can support this. First, the accuracy of a transaction on a blockchain is only as reliable as the person who supplied the data. Also, blockchains cannot deliver the security guarantees required for safe online elections, as most of the most serious vulnerabilities threaten the integrity and secrecy of voting before the ballots even reach the blockchain. And secondly, there is a nearly universal consensus that no technology available today or in the reasonably foreseeable future, including blockchains, can adequately secure an online public election against all the potential threats that it must be defended against. Public elections have unique security and privacy requirements much more stringent than those in other applications such as e-commerce because elections officials must always know who exactly is voting to verify eligibility and to prevent double voting. But they must not be able to trace particular ballots to the individual voters that cast them. These requirements are easily met with paper ballots at a polling place, but they cannot be met reliably and securely with any online voting system with or without blockchains. We commend the idealism of the affirmative to think that such technology is not just feasible, but would work 100% in the Philippines. But you need to understand that there are a lot of factors that we must take into account. We need to consider that Filipino technology is not at par with the first world countries, nor are IT experts fully equipped to protect the system from attacks, not just internally, such as politicians and terrorism, but also externally, such as first world countries with interest. As long as these irreversible harms exist, we cannot, for the life of us, just allow this policy. Finally, we should not defy logic and expose elections to irremediable harms because there's no recourse against a failure of democracy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. And now we call on the speaker from the affirmative side. Sir, for your sorry rebuttal. You have 3 minutes.
Your Honor,
test. Hello, mic test. Hello, mic test. Your honors, councils, good afternoon. I hope you will listen to my speech because the reason why we are very confident with our model is because we already made a blockchain framework which we can distribute to COMELEC later. They need to listen that in blockchain, personal information is still anonymous. This is a fact in computer science. So therefore, data privacy will not be violated. Internet voting, Your Honor, means you need to vote using cell phone in rural areas or in remote areas. Blockchain is merely a storage facility. It can be a private blockchain where you don't need internet, such as in Sierra Leone. So I don't understand, Your Honors, why they are trying to misrepresent that this debate is about online voting in Facebook or in internet. Moreover, they even go for discrediting our own experts. That's disrespectful. That is why, Your Honors, Xavier University Ateneo de Cagayan vigorously made an effort to make a feasible framework of blockchain technology for fully automated election. This framework was not only made through research in Google, but also modifying peer-reviewed articles and testimony of IT experts in CDO. Thus, we submit even to the COMELEC that this blockchain framework be approved. However, as the captain of the team, I am respectfully praying, Your Honors, that this debate, being legal and practical debate, should be assessed on three substantial standards. First is legality. We already established on our side that we will merely adopt blockchain as storage facility. This means we're not altering any substantial requirement of literacy or property. In terms of internet, if you listen closely, my first speaker said that voting will still be by precinct. Therefore, blockchain can be private and does not require internet. So I don't really understand the negative side. Second is technicality. According to the Oxford Oregon debate rules, Your Honors, the negative side has the burden of proof to rebut and discredit our model. However, what happened is that when we presented our framework, which is 2023 framework, they discredited us using 2019 evidence. That's one, obsolete, but number two, violative of the rules of procedure in Oxford, Oregon. Third, Your Honors, in terms of beneficiality, we have proven to you that it is secured because hacking it is nearly impossible because you need all the passwords of all the people in the Philippines and their evidence is obsolete. I pray that such evidence not be allowed. Lastly, Your Honors, it is cost effective because we can utilize algorithms such as Raspberry Pi and cryptographic hash 256. The point, Your Honor, there are already mechanisms which can provide cost effective. For statistics, Your Honor, cryptographic hash 256 as algorithm can only cost 50,000 to 150,000 pesos. The COMELEC has 2.2 billion. They can buy whatever they want. Wherefore, Your Honors, Xavier University proposes this blockchain framework because it's cost effective, it that violates data, and it manifests if you allow proposal of the Xavier University. We are very proud to propose.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And that concludes our championship round. What a match. Please, a round of applause for all our debaters. Clearly the top performing team, and congratulations for reaching this far. And now we will wait for the announcement of the winners. We will have a 30-minute health break, but in the meantime, our adjudicators will deliberate and decide the winner. When we return, we will know the first champion of the Justice Hilarion Aquino After dozens of witty exchange of arguments, curious interpellations, and buzzer-beater speeches,
The question is not whether or not the system is perfect, but rather, would it be better than what we've got at the present?
The primary problem with the case of the negative bench is they have recognized a problem. They conceded on the issue.
In sight of the essential provisions of our Constitution,
to all the law schools who heeded our call, thank you for participating. First, Justice Hilarion L. Aquino, National Memorial Debate Competition. After dozens of witty exchange of arguments, curious interpellations, and buzzer-beater speeches,
The question is not whether or not the system is perfect, but rather, would it be better than what we've got at the present?
The primary problem with the case of the negative bench is they have recognized a problem. They conceded on the issue.
in sight of the essential provisions of our Constitution,
to all the law schools who heeded our call, thank you for participating. First, Justice Hilarion L. Aquino, National Memorial Debate Competition. After dozens of witty exchange of arguments, curious interpellations, and buzzer-beater speeches,
The question is not whether or not the system is perfect, but rather, would it be better than what we've got at the present?
The primary problem with the case of the negative bench is they have recognized a problem. They conceded on the issue.
in sight of the essential provisions of our Constitution,
to all the law schools who heeded our call, thank you for participating. First, Justice Hilarion L. Aquino, National Memorial Debate Competition. After dozens of witty exchange of arguments, curious interpellations, and buzzer-beater speeches,
The question is not whether or not the system is perfect, but rather, would it be better than what we've got at the present?
The primary problem with the case of the negative bench is they have recognized a problem. They conceded on the issue.
in sight of the essential provisions of our Constitution,
to all the law schools who heeded our call, thank you for participating. First, Justice Hilarion L. Aquino, National Memorial Debate Competition. After dozens of witty exchange of arguments, curious interpellations, and buzzer-beater speeches,
The question is not whether or not the system is perfect, but rather, would it be better than what we've got at the present?
The primary problem with the case of the negative bench is they have recognized a problem. They conceded on the issue.
in sight of the essential provisions of our Constitution,
to all the law schools who heeded our call, thank you for participating. First, Justice Hilarion L. Aquino, National Memorial Debate Competition. After dozens of witty exchange of arguments, curious interpellations, and buzzer-beater speeches,
The question is not whether or not the system is perfect, but rather, would it be better than what we've got at the present?
The primary problem with the case of the negative bench is they have recognized a problem. They conceded on the issue.
in sight of the essential provisions of our Constitution,
to all the law schools who heeded our call, thank you for participating. First, Justice Hilarion L. Aquino, National Memorial Debate Competition. After dozens of witty exchange of arguments, curious interpellations, and buzzer-beater speeches,
The question is not whether or not the system is perfect, but rather, would it be better than what we've got at the present?
The primary problem with the case of the negative bench is they have recognized a problem. They conceded on the issue.
in sight of the essential provisions of our Constitution,
to all the law schools who heeded our call, thank you for participating.
First, Justice Hilarion L. Aquino, National Memorial Debate Competition. After dozens of witty exchange of arguments, curious interpellations, and buzzer-beater speeches,
The question is not whether or not the system is perfect, but rather, would it be better than what we've got at the present?
The primary problem with the case of the negative bench is they have recognized a problem. They conceded on the issue.
In sight of the essential provisions of our Constitution,
to all the law schools who heeded our call, thank you for participating. First, Justice Hilarion L. Aquino, National Memorial Debate Competition. After dozens of witty exchange of arguments, curious interpellations, and buzzer-beater speeches,
The question is not whether or not the system is perfect, but rather, would it be better than what we've got at the present?
The primary problem with the case of the negative bench is they have recognized a problem. They conceded on the issue.
in sight of the essential provisions of our Constitution,
to all the law schools who heeded our call, thank you for participating. First, Justice Hilarion L. Aquino, National Memorial Debate Competition. After dozens of witty exchange of arguments, curious interpellations, and buzzer-beater speeches,
The question is not whether or not the system is perfect, but rather, would it be better than what we've got at the present?
The primary problem with the case of the negative bench is they have recognized a problem. They conceded on the issue.
in sight of the essential provisions of our Constitution,
to all the law schools who heeded our call, thank you for participating. First, Justice Hilarion L. Aquino, National Memorial Debate Competition. After dozens of witty exchange of arguments, curious interpellations, and buzzer-beater speeches,
The question is not whether or not the system is perfect, but rather, would it be better than what we've got at the present?
The primary problem with the case of the negative bench is they have recognized a problem. They conceded on the issue.
in sight of the essential provisions of our Constitution,
to all the law schools who heeded our call, thank you for participating. First, Justice Hilarion L. Aquino, National Memorial Debate Competition. After dozens of witty exchange of arguments, curious interpellations, and buzzer-beater speeches,
The question is not whether or not the system is perfect, but rather, would it be better than what we've got at the present?
The primary problem with the case of the negative bench is they have recognized a problem. They conceded on the issue.
in sight of the essential provisions of our Constitution,
to all the law schools who heeded our call, thank you for participating. First, Justice Hilarion L. Aquino, National Memorial Debate Competition. After dozens of witty exchange of arguments, curious interpellations, and buzzer-beater speeches,
The question is not whether or not the system is perfect, but rather, would it be better than what we've got at the present?
The primary problem with the case of the negative bench is they have recognized a problem. They conceded on the issue.
in sight of the essential provisions of our Constitution,
to all the law schools who heeded our call, thank you for participating. First, Justice Hilarion L. Aquino, National Memorial Debate Competition. After dozens of witty exchange of arguments, curious interpellations, and buzzer-beater speeches,
The question is not whether or not the system is perfect, but rather, would it be better than what we've got at the present?
The primary problem with the case of the negative bench is they have recognized a problem. They conceded on the issue.
In sight of the essential provisions of our Constitution,
To all the law schools who heeded our call, thank you for participating. First, Justice Hilarion L. Aquino, National Memorial Debate Competition. After dozens of witty exchange of arguments, curious interpellations, and buzzer-beater speeches,
The question is not whether or not the system is perfect, but rather, would it be better than what we've got at the present?
The primary problem with the case of the negative bench is they have recognized a problem. They conceded on the issue.
in sight of the essential provisions of our Constitution,
to all the law schools who heeded our call, thank you for participating. First, Justice Hilarion L. Aquino, National Memorial Debate Competition. After dozens of witty exchange of arguments, curious interpellations, and buzzer-beater speeches,
The question is not whether or not the system is perfect, but rather, would it be better than what we've got at the present?
The primary problem with the case of the negative bench is they have recognized a problem. They conceded on the issue.
in sight of the essential provisions of our Constitution,
to all the law schools who heeded our call, thank you for participating. First, Justice Hilarion L. Aquino, National Memorial Debate Competition. After dozens of witty exchange of arguments, curious interpellations, and buzzer-beater speeches,
The question is not whether or not the system is perfect, but rather, would it be better than what we've got at the present?
The primary problem with the case of the negative bench is they have recognized a problem. They conceded on the issue.
in sight of the essential provisions of our Constitution,
to all the law schools who heeded our call, thank you for participating. First, Justice Hilarion L. Aquino, National Memorial Debate Competition. After dozens of witty exchange of arguments, curious interpellations, and buzzer-beater speeches,
The question is not whether or not the system is perfect, but rather, would it be better than what we've got at the present?
The primary problem with the case of the negative bench is they have recognized a problem. They conceded on the issue.
in sight of the essential provisions of our Constitution,
to all the law schools who heeded our call, thank you for participating. First, Justice Hilarion L. Aquino, National Memorial Debate Competition. After dozens of witty exchange of arguments, curious interpellations, and buzzer-beater speeches,
The question is not whether or not the system is perfect, but rather, would it be better than what we've got at the present?
The primary problem with the case of the negative bench is they have recognized a problem. They conceded on the issue.
in sight of the essential provisions of our Constitution,
to all the law schools who heeded our call, thank you for participating. First, Justice Hilarion L. Aquino, National Memorial Debate Competition. After dozens of witty exchange of arguments, curious interpellations, and buzzer-beater speeches,
The question is not whether or not the system is perfect, but rather, would it be better than what we've got at the present?
The primary problem with the case of the negative bench is they have recognized a problem. They conceded on the issue.
in sight of the essential provisions of our Constitution,
to all the law schools who heeded our call, thank you for participating. First, Justice Hilarion L. Aquino, National Memorial Debate Competition. After dozens of witty exchange of arguments, curious interpellations, and buzzer-beater speeches,
The question is not whether or not the system is perfect, but rather, would it be better than what we've got at the present?
The primary problem in the case of the negative bench is they have recognized a problem. They conceded on the issue.
In sight of the essential provisions of our Constitution,
to all the law schools who heeded our call, thank you for participating. First, Justice Hilarion L. Aquino, National Memorial Debate Competition. After dozens of witty exchange of arguments, curious interpellations, and buzzer-beater speeches,
The question is not whether or not the system is perfect, but rather, would it be better than what we've got at the present?
The primary problem in the case of the negative bench is they have recognized a problem. They conceded on the issue.
in sight of the essential provisions of our Constitution,
to all the law schools who heeded our call, thank you for participating. First, Justice Hilarion L. Aquino, National Memorial Debate Competition. After dozens of witty exchange of arguments, curious interpellations, and buzzer-beater speeches,
The question is not whether or not the system is perfect, but rather, would it be better than what we've got at the present?
The primary problem in the case of the negative bench is they have recognized a problem. They conceded on the issue.
in sight of the essential provisions of our Constitution,
to all the law schools who heeded our call, thank you for participating. First, Justice Hilarion L. Aquino, National Memorial Debate Competition. After dozens of witty exchange of arguments, curious interpellations, and buzzer-beater speeches,
The question is not whether or not the system is perfect, but rather, would it be better than what we've got at the present?
The primary problem in the case of the negative bench is they have recognized a problem. They conceded on the issue.
in sight of the essential provisions of our Constitution,
to all the law schools who heeded our call, thank you for participating. First, Justice Hilarion L. Aquino, National Memorial Debate Competition. After dozens of witty exchange of arguments, curious interpellations, and buzzer-beater speeches,
The question is not whether or not the system is perfect, but rather, would it be better than what we've got at the present?
The primary problem in the case of the negative bench is they have recognized a problem. They conceded on the issue.
in sight of the essential provisions of our Constitution,
to all the law schools who heeded our call, thank you for participating. First, Justice Hilarion L. Aquino, National Memorial Debate Competition. After dozens of witty exchange of arguments, curious interpellations, and buzzer-beater speeches,
The question is not whether or not the system is perfect, but rather, would it be better than what we've got at the present?
The primary problem in the case of the negative bench is they have recognized a problem. They conceded on the issue.
in sight of the essential provisions of our Constitution,
to all the law schools who heeded our call, thank you for participating. First, Justice Hilarion L. Aquino, National Memorial Debate Competition. After dozens of witty exchange of arguments, curious interpellations, and buzzer-beater speeches,
The question is not whether or not the system is perfect, but rather, would it be better than what we've got at the present?
The primary problem in the case of the negative bench is they have recognized a problem. They conceded on the issue.
in sight of the essential provisions of our Constitution,
to all the law schools who heeded our call, thank you for participating. First, Justice Hilarion L. Aquino National Memorial Debate Competition. After dozens of witty exchange of arguments, curious interpellations, and buzzer-beater speeches,
The question is not whether or not the system is perfect, but rather, would it be better than what we've got at the present?
The primary problem in the case of the negative bench is they have recognized a problem. They conceded on the issue.
In sight of the essential provisions of our Constitution,
to all the law schools who heeded our call, thank you for participating. First, Justice Hilarion L. Aquino National Memorial Debate Competition. After dozens of witty exchange of arguments, curious interpellations, and buzzer-beater speeches,
The question is not whether or not the system is perfect, but rather, would it be better than what we've got at the present?
The primary problem in the case of the negative bench is they have recognized a problem. They conceded on the issue.
in sight of the essential provisions of our Constitution,
to all the law schools who heeded our call, thank you for participating. First, Justice Hilarion L. Aquino National Memorial Debate Competition. After dozens of witty exchange of arguments, curious interpellations, and buzzer-beater speeches,
The question is not whether or not the system is perfect, but rather, would it be better than what we've got at the present?
The primary problem in the case of the negative bench is they have recognized a problem. They conceded on the issue.
in sight of the essential provisions of our Constitution,
to all the law schools who heeded our call, thank you for participating. First, Justice Hilarion L. Aquino National Memorial Debate Competition. After dozens of witty exchange of arguments, curious interpellations, and buzzer-beater speeches,
The question is not whether or not the system is perfect, but rather, would it be better than what we've got at the present?
The primary problem in the case of the negative bench is they have recognized a problem. They conceded on the issue.
in sight of the essential provisions of our Constitution,
to all the law schools who heeded our call, thank you for participating. First, Justice Hilarion L. Aquino National Memorial Debate Competition. After dozens of witty exchange of arguments, curious interpellations, and buzzer-beater speeches,
The question is not whether or not the system is perfect, but rather, would it be better than what we've got at the present?
The primary problem in the case of the negative bench is they have recognized a problem. They conceded on the issue.
in sight of the essential provisions of our Constitution,
to all the law schools who heeded our call, thank you for participating. First, Justice Hilarion L. Aquino National Memorial Debate Competition. After dozens of witty exchange of arguments, curious interpellations, and buzzer-beater speeches,
The question is not whether or not the system is perfect, but rather, would it be better than what we've got at the present?
The primary problem in the case of the negative bench is they have recognized a problem. They conceded on the issue.
in sight of the essential provisions of our Constitution,
to all the law schools who heeded our call, thank you for participating. First, Justice Hilarion L. Aquino National Memorial Debate Competition. After dozens of witty exchange of arguments, curious interpellations, and buzzer-beater speeches,
The question is not whether or not the system is perfect, but rather, would it be better than what we've got at the present?
The primary problem in the case of the negative bench is they have recognized a problem. They conceded on the issue.
In sight of the essential provisions of our Constitution,
to all the law schools who heeded our call, thank you for participating. First, Justice Hilarion L. Aquino, National Memorial Debate Competition. After dozens of witty exchange of arguments, curious interpolations, and buzzer-beater speeches,
The question is not whether or not the system is perfect, but rather, would it be better than what we've got at the present?
The primary problem in the case of the negative bench is they have recognized a problem. They conceded on the issue.
in sight of the essential provisions of our Constitution,
to all the law schools who heeded our call, thank you for participating. First, Justice Hilarion L. Aquino, National Memorial Debate Competition. After dozens of witty exchange of arguments, curious interpolations, and buzzer-beater speeches,
The question is not whether or not the system is perfect, but rather, would it be better than what we've got at the present?
The primary problem in the case of the negative bench is they have recognized a problem. They conceded on the issue.
in sight of the essential provisions of our Constitution,
to all the law schools who heeded our call, thank you for participating. First, Justice Hilarion L. Aquino, National Memorial Debate Competition. After dozens of witty exchange of arguments, curious interpolations, and buzzer-beater speeches,
The question is not whether or not the system is perfect, but rather, would it be better than what we've got at the present?
The primary problem in the case of the negative bench is they have recognized a problem. They conceded on the issue.
in sight of the essential provisions of our Constitution,
to all the law schools who heeded our call, thank you for participating. First, Justice Hilarion L. Aquino, National Memorial Debate Competition. After dozens of witty exchange of arguments, curious interpolations, and buzzer-beater speeches,
The question is not whether or not the system is perfect, but rather, would it be better than what we've got at the present?
The primary problem in the case of the negative bench is they have recognized a problem. They conceded on the issue.
in sight of the essential provisions of our Constitution,
to all the law schools who heeded our call, thank you for participating. First, Justice Hilarion L. Aquino, National Memorial Debate Competition. After dozens of witty exchange of arguments, curious interpolations, and buzzer-beater speeches,
The question is not whether or not the system is perfect, but rather, would it be better than what we've got at the present?
The primary problem in the case of the negative bench is they have recognized a problem. They conceded on the issue.
in sight of the essential provisions of our Constitution,
to all the law schools who heeded our call, thank you for participating. First, Justice Hilarion L. Aquino, National Memorial Debate Competition. After dozens of witty exchange of arguments, curious interpolations, and buzzer-beater speeches,
The question is not whether or not the system is perfect, but rather, would it be better than what we've got at the present?
The primary problem in the case of the negative bench is they have recognized a problem. They conceded on the issue.
in sight of the essential provisions of our Constitution,
to all the law schools who heeded our call, thank you for participating. First, Justice Hilarion L. Aquino, National Memorial Debate Competition. After dozens of witty exchange of arguments, curious interpellations, and buzzer-beater speeches,
The question is not whether or not the system is perfect, but rather, would it be better than what we've got at the present?
The primary problem in the case of the negative bench is they have recognized a problem. They conceded on the issue.
In sight of the essential provisions of our Constitution,
to all the law schools who heeded our call, thank you for participating. First, Justice Hilarion Aquino National Memorial Debate Competition. After dozens of witty exchange of arguments and buzzer-beater speeches,
The question is not whether or not the system is perfect, but rather, would it be better than what we've got at the present?
The primary problem in the case of the negative bench is they have recognized a problem. They conceded on the issue.
in sight of the essential provisions of our Constitution,
to all the law schools who heeded our call, thank you for participating. First, Justice Hilarion Aquino National Memorial Debate Competition. After dozens of witty exchange of arguments, curious interpellations, and buzzer-beater speeches,
The question is not whether or not the system is perfect, but rather, would it be better than what we've got at the present?
The primary problem in the case of the negative bench is they have recognized a problem. They conceded on the issue.
in sight of the essential provisions of our Constitution,
to all the law schools who heeded our call, thank you. First, Justice Hilarion Aquino National Memorial Debate Competition. After dozens of witty exchange of arguments, curious interpellations, and buzzer-beater
The question is not whether or not the system is perfect, but rather, would it be better than what we've got at the present?
The primary problem in the case of the negative bench is they have recognized a problem. They conceded on the issue.
in sight of the essential provisions of our Constitution,
to all the law schools who heeded our call, thank you for participating. First, Justice Hilarion Aquino National Memorial Debate Competition. After dozens of witty exchange of arguments, curious interpellations, and buzzer-beater speeches,
The question is not whether or not the system is perfect, but rather, would it be better than what we've got at the present?
The primary problem in the case of the negative bench is they have recognized a problem. They conceded on the issue.
in sight of the essential provisions of our Constitution,
to all the law schools who heeded our call, thank you for participating. First, Justice Hilarion Aquino National Memorial Debate Competition. After dozens of witty exchange of arguments, curious interpellations, and buzzer-beater speeches,
The question is not whether or not the system is perfect, but rather, would it be better than what we've got at the present?
The primary problem in the case of the negative bench is they have recognized a problem. They conceded on the issue.
in sight of the essential provisions of our Constitution,
to all the law schools who heeded our call, thank you for participating. First, Justice Hilarion Aquino National Memorial Debate Competition. After dozens of witty exchange of arguments, curious interpolations, and buzzer-beater speeches,
The question is not whether or not the system is perfect, but rather, would it be better than what we've got at the present?
The primary problem in the case of the negative bench is they have recognized a problem. They conceded on the issue.
In sight of the essential provisions of our Constitution,
to all the law schools who heeded our call, thank you for participating. First, Justice Hilarion L. Aquino, National Memorial Debate. After dozens of weak exchange of arguments, curious interpolations, and buzzer-beater speeches,
The question is not whether or not the system is perfect, but rather, would it be better than what we've got at the present?
The primary problem in the case of the negative bench is they have recognized a problem. They conceded on the issue.
in sight of the essential provisions of our Constitution,
National Memorial Debate. After dozens of weak exchange of arguments, curious interpolations, and buzzer-beater speeches,
The question is not whether or not the system is perfect, but rather, would it be better than what we've got at the present?
The primary problem in the case of the negative bench is they have recognized a problem. They conceded on the issue.
in sight of the essential provisions of our Constitution,
all the law schools who heeded our call, thank you for participating. National Memorial Debate. After dozens of weak exchange of arguments, curious interpolations, and buzzer-beater speeches,
The question is not whether or not the system is perfect, but rather, would it be better than what we've got at the present?
The primary problem in the case of the negative bench is they have recognized a problem. They conceded on the issue.
in sight of the essential provisions of our Constitution,
all the law schools who heeded our call, thank you for participating.
Welcome back. We now have the results. So we will announce shortly the winners and the champion for the first National Memorial Debate Competition. So for the awarding later today, or later a few minutes after, we would like to call on our chairperson of the LEB, Chairperson Trinidad, and the Common Chairperson as well, Chair Garcia, as well as Commissioners Reyes and Commissioner Salis to help us award the winners. Our winners will not just take home pride, but they will also be receiving a cash prize. So the best debater and best speaker will get 10,000 pesos each. The finalists, aside from bragging rights, will also take home 30,000 pesos, and finally the champion will be receiving 50,000 pesos. Our champion team will also be invited to be part of the election summit next week. All right, I'm sure everyone's excited. So for the awarding and announcement of results, may we call on Chief Justice Renato S. Puno, our Chief Adjudicator, to provide us the results.
Well, first of all, in behalf of the Board of Adjudicators, may we thank all of you, the Pamanang, the Legal Education Board, for giving us this opportunity to be the judges of this historic debate on the use of blockchain in future elections in our country. Let me congratulate all the debaters who participated in this debate. It is our unanimous view that all of you excelled in the debate. And indeed, we were telling ourselves that in the future, we can look forward to your individual names to be the leaders of our country. We will be leaders in the executive department, the legislative department, as well as in the judiciary. And that is not just a prophecy, that is evidence-based. Yes, that is right. And, you know, Filipino students are well known for their debating skill. Just lately, we all read that great news that Ateneo de Manila emerged as the best debating team in the world competition. And that is also the experience of the UP debaters. I remember in our student days, the UP debaters won the Wilmot Cup, beating also debaters from the Ivy League universities. So this is a skill of the Filipino, which we can be proud of. But anyway, you will note that we exceeded our time deliberating on who will be the team and individual winners. And, I thought this job would be easy, but it turned out to be more difficult deciding cases in the Supreme Court. Anyway, let me announce the winners for the best speaker. The winner is Michael J. Lee. Thank you. Congratulations. for the best debater. For the team performance. For the finalists, may we call on the West Visayas State University.
Dito po.
And for the grand champion, winning by a hairline. We call on the Xavier University.
Ito po. Ito po. One more. One more po, dito po. Thank you.
Last one po, last one po.
Three, two, one.
Congratulations, Xavier University at Cagayan for winning the first John Hilarion Aquino National Memorial Debate Competition. We are amazed by your performance. Congratulations also to the West Visayas State University for putting up such a great fight. We are inspired by your performance. So although we will end the day or the debate now, we will invite you to dinner, which will be on the ground floor of the Lydia Tansi building. Our staff will assist you towards dinner. And now to conclude the festivities, we'd like to call on the committee chair, the Confederation Committee Chairperson, Mr. Rodrigo C. Sagum of the LEB for the closing remarks.
Organizing clean, free, and fair election has always been the democratic ideal. The right to vote, the right to hold those in power accountable to the ballot box, the right to have a say in our democratic affairs is sacrosanct for the formation and development of democracy. Much more ours, the oldest democracy in Southeast Asia. To achieve this ideal, we must undertake the unending task of imparting and educating the citizenry, not just on the abstract values of clean and fair elections, but also on the recognition and understanding of our elections law. The Legal Education Board and the Commission on Elections, through the first Justice Hilarion, Aquino National Memorial Debate Competition, has been a platform for a competition of ideas and wits from a generation of law students offering their insights on the challenges and relevant policy developments on our election laws. It is our hope that the engagement would light a passion in the hearts and minds of our law students of today and therefore the lawyers of tomorrow. I would like to give my cheers and congratulations on the success of this event. Fully credit is given to the organizer, participants, adjudicators, and judges of this debate. They say success and failure is an orphan. I would like to take this time to give my thanks to those dedicated individuals who made this event possible. Special thanks go out to our host today, Beda University, for your generosity. Beda University also holds a meaning as the home of the great man for whom this debate competition is named after. Justice Larry was a man of public service and ethical integrity, values we hope our participants gain from this experience. It is my hope that the success of this project paves the way for further avenues of cooperation that serve the stakeholders of the Legal Education Board and the Commission on Elections. After all, we have to understand that the challenges of time are indeed great, but we should never underestimate the value of doing good work for the public we serve. Thank you, and once again, congratulations.
Thank you very much. Again, congratulations to our winners. Congratulations to everyone who participated in this competition.